everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. I'm so excited today. I've got actress Elena Sanchez with me. So welcome, Elena.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I'll start out this way. You're kind of a badass. You do all this stunt work that's just amazing. But now you're acting too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's pretty great. That's pretty great. But let me start at the beginning. So talk a little bit about how you got into entertainment. What made you want to go into that? You know, did you look at yourself as wanting to be an actress, or did you go into it actually to do stunts at the beginning?
So originally I was in college for something completely different. Hotel management.
Now you're talking my language. I was a management major.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And now I'm
podcasting. So there you go.
Ultimately, I do think my degree was helpful in a way, though, because it's kind of like a business degree. So any business you go in, like the marketing classes, the finance classes, that all helps.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I fell into acting because I took an acting class as my elective my junior year and just fell in love with it.
Nice.
And yeah, so I pretty much within the span of 2 weeks decided that I was going to be an actress. It's what I was going to do. It was what was going to make me happy in life. And the stunt thing actually didn't happen until later. So after I graduated from college, I moved to New York City and went to drama school and did that whole thing like, oh, well, you want to be an actor, you got to move to New York or LA.
Yeah.
And at that point, I didn't really know what stunts was. I mean, I thought you'd heard about it, but I thought it was men specifically who get lit on fire and crash cars, neither of which I knew how to do or was interested in doing. So
have you been set on fire?
For the first time, yes. Yes, recently. It was something I was never interested in doing. And then I got offered to do it. And I was like, well, I'm going to do it once and never again.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
But yeah, so I didn't really learn or understand much about stunts until I was a gymnast my whole life. So I was always very athletic. And I started getting auditions, which were more, because, you decide you'd be an actor and everyone thinks you're just going to get auditions thrown at you and that it's going to be this easy thing. That's just not how it happens. So for me, it was the fact that I was athletic and I had this specific skill. That's how I started getting auditions, because it was a specific skill that not everybody had.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
So then one of the first big jobs I booked as an actress was a commercial where they were specifically looking for a gymnast. And that job involved I was like in a harness doing zero gravity wire work and jumping on trampolines. And it was so much fun and so cool. And that was the first time I realized, like, wait, I think that was stunts. I did stunts.
That's stunts I've been hearing about.
Yeah. And then once I realized it was also fun things like that, like floating around in the air and flipping, which I already knew and loved doing, I kind of started looking more into the whole stunt world and how I could get into that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it makes complete sense. So when you were growing up, were you gymnast recreationally, or were you competing?
I was competing from the age of, I want to say, probably 6 or 7, and I competed all the way through college. So it was a huge part of my life. I mean, during some periods in my life, I was training more than others. It was also just a situational thing. Like when I was in high school, I was living in Switzerland, where gymnastics at the time was not that big of a sport. So, you kind of have to go by what's available and how often they train and all that. And then, but then once I went to college, I started training a little more again. And Yeah. So I was competing the whole time.
Did you compete for your college?
I did, but so I competed for the club team. I went to Cornell University, so we had a club team and competed all 4 years, and it was a blast.
Yeah, that's pretty great. That's pretty great. Did you have a specialty?
So I competed all around, so all 4 events.
Yeah.
Vault, bars, beam, and floor. But my specialty was definitely uneven bars, which is ironic because I'm 5'8", so I'm on the tall side for a gymnast. Yeah. And for the uneven bars, you know, when you're swinging on the top bar, you gotta, like, the low bar is pretty close, so it's hard to swing and do all that stuff when you're as tall as I am, I guess, but I made it work.
Yeah. Well, yeah, what a great skill to have to help you get into acting. I love that. And you've done stunt work for like all the big movies.
Yeah, which would have never happened if I didn't have that gymnastics background. And I think, so when I was deciding which college to go to, I was trying to decide between NYU and Cornell. And I just couldn't decide because I wanted to be in New York City.
Right.
But for hotel management, Cornell had the better program. And ultimately how I decided was I flipped a coin. And Cornell came up, but NYU at the time didn't have a gymnastics team, so I wouldn't have continued doing gymnastics. And ultimately, I think the gymnastics is what really helped me break into Hollywood. So yes. I don't know that would have even happened if I went to NYU.
You did the commercial. Have you got to be a gymnast on film yet, or for a TV show?
No, so I've never played a gymnast. I did do a movie where I played kind of I think it's the only movie where I did something slightly gymnastics related. I did like an aerial, which is it's like a cartwheel with no hands.
Right.
But yeah, so funnily enough, I never played a gymnast. And at the very beginning of my career, like there was that show Make It or Break It, which was about the gymnast. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember.
I still wanted to be on that so bad. And they did ask me, I did get an opportunity to be like a specialty background gymnast on that, but I didn't end up doing it because it was, I just, career-wise,
on the show.
It would have been fun to be on the show, especially because it was a show that I watched, but I don't remember exactly why I didn't do it. I think maybe I had some other better opportunities that weren't necessarily just being an extra, because essentially that's what it would have been, being an extra. And it would have been fun for the experience, but.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So, all right, so I've got your next big project. This is one we're going to work on. So I'm going to pitch you the show.
Yes.
So you're an ex-gymnast who maybe suffered an injury, so you had to give up gymnastics. So you decide, I'll be a gymnastics coach.
Okay.
But you're terrible at it. You absolutely hate it. But then you accidentally fall into solving crime.
I love it.
That's it.
Who do we call?
I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out. We're going to start pitching that around.
Right.
So you've been doing, you did some stunt work. I want to get some of them right. You did stunt work on Avengers Endgame, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Infinity War, maybe?
Yes, I did do Infinity War.
Yeah, isn't it time that they put you into the Marvel Universe?
Right. I'm like, come on, can I just be the next character? I mean, I'm trying to, drop hints here and there, but it hasn't worked so far.
What was it? Talk a little bit about what that's like to do stunt work for an action movie, superhero movie, and what exactly does that involve?
So a lot of the action movies involve a lot of green screen work.
Okay.
So yeah, because it's a lot of it is CGI. So specifically on the Avengers movies, for example, you know, like you're running towards a blue screen or stuff like that. So, but it's just so cool, you know, you're on this huge movie set with these huge actors who you've seen in all these movies. And I mean, yeah, you get called for something specific. Usually a lot of times you'll know beforehand what you're doing.
Right.
And sometimes it is something very specific, and you know, okay, you're gonna be climbing a building or getting hit by a car or you know, something like that. But sometimes it's just you get a call and they say, okay, you're probably going to be an easy day, but you know, you're going to be around an explosion. And so when there's a big explosion, they can't put extras around that because it's dangerous, and they need to have people who know what they're doing. So they'll put stunt people around any kind of big action scene, whether it's because there's something dangerous happening, like an explosion or special effects, or if it's because the actors are doing something physical or with the stunt people. So, I mean, every day is completely different. You never know exactly what is going to happen.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting because you're around actors who they're acting, but you're actually doing the stuff. You know, like if I was an actor and stuff, I would be very impressed with the stunt people, because I'd be like, well, I'm just standing here talking. They're doing all the work.
Well, and it is sweet. A lot, you know, most of the actors are super gracious about it, and they love us and they encourage us, and you know, they're like, I'm gonna step away now. You guys do your thing, and it's nice to have that appreciation for sure.
Have you ever been injured?
Yes. I haven't had any. Luckily, I haven't had anything super bad. I mean, I've had the typical like bruises. I actually bruise very easily, which is very unfortunate for someone who does stunts. But yeah, I mean, one of the worst ones was like I sprained my thumb pretty badly.
Yes. Yeah,
that was on one of my first movies, on a movie called Looper, where I was doubling Emily Blunt. And
very nice.
Yeah, so but it was, you know, you never know how important your thumb is until it's not available for you to use anymore. I learned that on that movie, and it was weird. Like I would try to lift up a glass and I couldn't do it because this thumb was just barely connected, and the thumb would just go bloop, and
oh, that's awful.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah, it's terrible. So how did you transition? How did you use, you know, your connections with stunts? How do you transition into actual acting?
So that is an interesting question, because in a way it's more difficult to do that because you've been pigeonholed and typecast as a stunt woman. So I guess for me, luckily I had, since I had decided to be an actress before I ever did any stunts, I had that background of having gone to drama school and having that foundation of training to where people could see, oh, okay, she has done this training. She's not just saying, oh, she wants to act now. But it is kind of just about making it known and putting it out into the universe that you do have this whole other side, and you know, the connections that I made through doing stunt work. A lot of the stunt coordinators that I worked for example, go on to become second unit directors and then main unit directors. So as everyone's moving up in their career and getting these bigger opportunities, you know, then you reach out to these people who are now your friends and say, hey, you know, like, I'd love to audition for any acting roles that are on your movie. And, you know, I have one director who I met very early on in my career, and every time he's doing a movie, like, he'll email me the script and say, all right, what do you want to audition for? And like, I'm so thankful for those opportunities. And I don't always book something, you know, but at least I have that opportunity and that chance.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So what was your first acting role?
Oh, I think, and the only reason I know this is because it popped up recently, like as a memory. The very
Thank
first,
goodness for Facebook.
right? The very first speaking role I filmed in a movie was a movie called Aztec Warrior with Luis Guzman, but but this movie has never been released to this day. So
that's not fair.
And that was actually the I think it was the same year that I then got the Hunger Games, but at the beginning of the year. And I remember in this memory it said 5 years ago I decided I wanted to be an actress. Today I filmed my first speaking role in a feature film. So it took, I guess, 5 years from the moment that I decided I wanted to do this to get my first speaking role in a film.
Yeah. That's a pretty awesome memory, though.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So I always play this game with the family, where I go around and it's where do you know this person from? So that's why I'm testing them out. So all of the kids, Hunger Games. They're like, District 8, Dad. I was like, yeah, I know. But yeah, so they all knew you. They recognized you from it was Catching Fire, right? It was Catching Fire.
Yes, the second one.
Yeah.
Which is the best one. I mean, I might be kind of biased, but
it's the best one for sure. I'm sure it's just a coincidence, but it's the best one. Now, you were really good. You did I like the fact that you gave a lot without even saying anything. Like, your expression's really good.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Well.
Thank you. Well, and it's hard it's not hard. It's just when you come onto a movie like that and you know it's not really about you. You're just there to kind of like help move the story forward. So it's like you want to do enough, but you don't want to do too much. That's in a way.
Yeah. So is it less pressure when you're not the focal point, or is it more pressure because you're like, I don't want to mess this up?
Well, for that one specifically, it was, I don't want to mess this up, because it was like my first big project. And for the first 3 weeks, I thought I was going to get fired. I thought they had made a mistake. I was like, why am I here? What, me? Like, something's wrong here. And so for the first 2 or 3 weeks, I wasn't even on camera because they were, filming other scenes or around me or whatever. And I was like, I have to get on camera so that like they can't fire me anymore, because then I've like, been established. So for that one, it was definitely like, I don't want to do anything wrong.
Yeah, that would be tough. Like, I would rather get on camera really early in the filming just to get the nerves out of the way.
Yeah, it definitely, and since then, I mean, that was also a kind of an anomaly. Like, you're not usually hanging around for several weeks before you get on camera.
Right.
And I think, I guess there probably is a little, like, thinking of, stuff since then, there probably is a little less pressure if you're not one of the huge main roles.
Yeah.
Just because you're not, carrying the whole project.
Right.
So
were you a Hunger Games fan beforehand?
So I had seen the first movie and I had liked it, but I had not read the books. So as soon as I found out that I had booked this role, I went out and read all the books, and then I fell in love with it. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. I'm so excited. I get to be a part of it. And then it was really cute. Then we each had a copy of the book that we brought to set, and we each like had all the tributes sign it. So it was like a little yearbook that we each signed for each other.
Yeah, that's awesome. What a keepsake. That's terrific. That's terrific. If I was in, I've always said this, and I could not act. That there's no way. It's too difficult. But if I was in just something like the Hunger Games, where I had a role, I would show up at every convention. They wouldn't even have to call me. I'd just show up in costume. There's that tribute again. He keeps hanging out here. Have you got to do a convention yet?
No, so people keep saying that. But I haven't done any of the conventions, and I think it would be cool.
Yeah, you need to do those, especially with the stunt work as well. I mean, that's, as fans, you would have a long line. You should do that.
I'll have to think about it. I mean, I guess there's also like horror conventions and stuff.
Oh yeah,
so
for sure.
I mean, maybe the Hunger Games stuff is a little too far in the past now.
Yeah. Well, that's true. That's true. You've done many other things. You would do very well at a horror convention. Those are big right now.
Who do I call for that?
I can do that. Now that I can help with. I know all the people for the conventions because
let me know. I'll be there.
Yeah, I'll fix it up. We'll set that up. Right after we're done with our Gymnast script. We'll do that first.
Yes.
You're going to be very busy.
I love it.
Very busy. So we got to talk about Demigod. So we've got, we're in a studio. So we do a lot of, we call them premieres, but we watch the movies when they come out, but we watch them in the studio and we bring in, friends and family, and we make it a big deal. So this is on our list. So we're definitely watching it because it looks awesome. But talk a little bit about what the movie's about, how the role came about and what your role in it is. The trailer is terrific. It's a little unsettling, but really good.
That's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
So Demigod is about a woman played by the lovely Rachel Nichols, whose grandfather has just passed away. Her grandfather was German, so she travels back to Germany with her husband to stay at his cabin in the woods. And in these woods
That's never a good thing.
It's never a good thing. As you can imagine, there are also other things in these woods. And so that part of it is based off of the Cernunnos myth. And Cernunnos in mythology is the god of hunting and wild beasts and life and death. And he also happens to be in these woods, along with some servants of his, such as witches, myself included.
Yeah.
And once Robin is the character's name, played by Rachel Nichols, travels back to these woods, certain things just start happening. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it looks spooky.
Just in time for Halloween.
Yeah, I know. We're so excited to watch it. That's going to be great. So how did that role come about?
So I had originally auditioned for another role in the project.
Okay.
A smaller role. This role was in the opening scene of the movie, and I booked it. And then about 3 or 4 days before the movie started shooting, I get a phone call saying, "Would you like to play the role of Latara?" Now, Latara is, I went from being in one scene of the movie to, being in half the scenes of the movie. And I had to take a moment to think about it. And then, called them back an hour later and was like, of course. Yeah. And so the crazy thing is I then had, because this other role that I was originally going to do wasn't shooting for another 2 weeks at that point, I think, or 2.5 weeks. Right. This role, they were like, you need to be here in 3 days. So I had to learn the whole script. I had to pack all my stuff to go to the middle of nowhere in Mississippi, which is where we were shooting. And I had to pack all, because this was like the 2 weeks right before Christmas. And I always go home for Christmas to Europe to see my family. So I also had to pack all my stuff for the holidays, and I had 3 days to do all this. So it was a little overwhelming, but I made it happen. And then got to Mississippi, where we shot at we lived and shot at a campground in the middle of nowhere, which was so fun to do.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Yeah, I'm really excited for the movie. Because I'm a chicken. Are my eyes going to be able to stay open during this? Am I going to need something to shield myself?
See, so someone else just asked me that, and like it's hard for me to be the judge of that because I know everything that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think so. There are a couple of jump scares.
Yeah.
And there are 1 or 2 things which might be a little like gory, but not too much. So I think you should be able to handle it.
I can handle it. I'll tell you what usually gets me is jump scares don't get me, but my wife, they always get her, and she always screams. It's terrifying. So the jump scare doesn't get me, but the half second later when she screams, then I jump. So I don't know. I'm going to have to think about whether or not I want to.
What I always do with the jump scares is like, something's about to happen with like the creepy music, and I just like hold my ears closed. And for some reason, then if I don't hear anything, like
then you're okay.
Then I don't have that jump scare, because usually it is accompanied by like the sharp sound or the music.
Yeah, so, that's true. That's really good. So you were born in Frankfurt, right? Germany?
Yes.
Yeah. I think now I don't. My geography is terrible, but my brother worked 3 years in Wiesbaden, which I think is close to Frankfurt, right?
Yeah, that is pretty close.
Fairly similar there. So that's kind of my knowledge of Germany. But how did you, at what age did you come to the States?
So the first time I came, I was 3 years old. We moved to New York. I was pretty young. Yeah. But then when I was 12, we moved back to Europe, but we moved to Switzerland. And then I stayed in Switzerland throughout middle and high school until I graduated from high school. And then I came back for college.
Do you speak the languages?
Yes. So my mother is German. So I grew up speaking German, and my father is Spanish. So I also speak Spanish. And in Switzerland, we lived in the German section of Switzerland. So Switzerland has 3 official languages: German, French, and Italian, depending on what part of the country you're in. And we luckily lived in the German part, so I already knew German.
Although knew that one.
Yes, I knew that one, but there is a dialect in Switzerland called Swiss German, which is completely different. And I couldn't understand it for the first year I was there. And then you realize that it's like certain sounds and letters. And once you figure that out, it's easy to understand. And then it took about another year till I was like brave enough to try to speak it.
That's pretty amazing, though. That's a lot of languages.
Well, I mean, I just got lucky, and it's easier to learn a language when you're a kid.
It is.
Just pick it
That's
up.
True.
And my parents, especially my mom, made sure to like continue that with us, each speaking their own language. And my mom would actually, like, when we were living in New York as kids, my mom would like sit us down and dictate German to us, so we would have to practice our writing. And
that's good parenting. Good for mom.
I mean, we hated her for it. We're like, I just want to be American. I just want to speak English and like, do things with my friends. And now my sister and I are so thankful that she did that. And we're like, sorry we ever said anything bad about it. Thank you so much for doing that.
Good for mom. That's great. Have you done any acting in Europe?
No. So I did work on the, I think it was Fast and Furious 9.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's so many now. I can't keep track.
There's a lot.
But I was part of the stunt team for, I think it was 9. Yes. And we shot that in London. So,
nice.
But I haven't been a part of any other European production. And that's actually on my wish list or to-do list of things to do next. I need to, get an agent out there, because
with the extra languages, you might as well put it to use.
Yeah. So I definitely need to make use of that.
So we are big Walking Dead fans. So loved the Satchel, wasn't it?
Satchel Wolf. Yes, I was one of the
Satchel
wolves.
Wolf is the best name. Yeah.
It's funny because when we shot it, I guess they were open to casting either a man or a woman in my role. So when I showed up, my name on the call sheet was next to, I think it was Blackbeard Wolf. So I guess they had to change that, because I had shaved my beard that day, so it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, we've been lucky enough to become friends with a big part of the cast from Walking Dead. So when I saw that you were coming on, I was like, "Woo!" That was the first thing came to my mind was Walking Dead. See, and that's also something you could do a convention
for. True.
Yeah. They have a lot of conventions that are just Walking Dead actors.
You're making me think of all these things.
I know. I'm gonna keep you busy. We got to figure out what superhero character you could play, because they're doing a lot of the obscure type of heroes that most people wouldn't know. So I got to figure that out. I'm gonna work on that one.
Every once in a while, some people tag me on Instagram on there's like these fan casting sites.
Yeah.
And so then they pick, and I'm not that great with like the superhero stuff. I mean, I know the main ones, but I don't know, like you were saying, like the more obscure ones. And so they'll tag me and they'll put like a picture of me with whatever character that they think I should play. And I'm like, yes, let's do it. Like, yeah, let's make those calls.
You could learn it. You could learn it.
True.
I mean, that would be kind of fun. Just like Hunger Games. You go back, you read some of the stories that are in. That could be that's good research.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I know. I've got. Oh, I know another one that we loved you, and you played a demon on Sleepy Hollow.
Yes, yeah, that one was cool. That one was a lot of fun. That makeup was intense. It took 5.5 hours to put all that makeup on, and then then I had to work like an 8-hour day, and then it took 2.5 hours to take that all off.
Gosh, so what time in the day did you start? Was it like 4 a.m?
Yeah, I mean, I had like one of the earliest call times other than makeup, because they had to be there even earlier than I did.
Did you have to do it more than one day?
Yes, I was there for a week and a half, and so I think in that week and a half, I think I did it. I think 6 times maybe. And because, you're not supposed to, ideally, you're not supposed to do it consecutive days in a row, because it is like they're gluing it to your face and your skin.
Hard on the skin. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like taking it off is also, that's why it takes so long, because you can't just rip it off because it's glued to your skin. So,
right.
And I do have sensitive skin. So, but I did it 6 times in a week and a half.
I would be a very cranky demon by the end of the week. Like they'd be putting the makeup on, and you'd be able to see how grumpy I was on camera. It'd be terrible.
I mean, it helped me get into character.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun. It depends on if the team is awesome, it just makes it so much fun. And if you think about how many hours during that time I spent with that makeup team putting that makeup on me, like we were best friends by the end, and they're like, putting on everything everywhere, like in every corner of your body. So you're like, You've known each other your entire lives by the end.
That's pretty great. Did that make you want to do more costume work or less?
I think more. I mean, it's you know, it showed me that I could do it, and I mean, it is, you know, it's not something that everyone feels comfortable doing, especially like so to when you play a role like that where there's a lot of prosthetics involved, especially like on your head area, you have to get it's called like a life cast made of your face and your head.
Yeah. That's
so what that involves is they cover you completely in whatever material it is to make this cast.
Yeah.
And you're completely like, they cover your eyes. The only thing they leave is like 2 little holes for your nostrils and like put a little straw out for you to breathe out of. And you have to sit completely shut into that for 15 to 20 minutes while it dries. So they specifically ask you, like, are you claustrophobic? Because if you're claustrophobic, you can do that. So I was excited to find out I could do that and that I didn't hate it. And yeah, so it's, and you know, even just recently, a couple weeks ago, my agent reached out to a couple actors on their roster, including me, and they were like, well, are you comfortable with prosthetics? What have you done? Yes. Can you send us pictures? And then it's just always, it's good to have that on your resume as something that you have done, so they know you're comfortable. Because the worst thing would be if they bring an actor to do that and then for whatever reason
panic or whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, that would be a huge headache and, you know, not good for either party. So
yeah, I love the way that you have kind of built your acting toolbox, let's say, over the years, and you've got all these skills that I would think as you go along in your career are just going to come into play more and more. It's just going to help you.
Yes. I mean, I hope so. And it's interesting then, you know, when several of those skills are combined, like even for the Sleepy Hollow one, it was specifically prosthetics, but also had to be good with action because the role involved like fighting the lead actors. So, you know, now I know that I can do prosthetics and I can do fighting and I can do both at the same time.
That's pretty good. Did you get to keep any of the costume?
From Sleepy Hollow? No, I don't have anything from that one.
No Halloween costume.
No, unfortunately not. Although, like, for example, so it depends. Sometimes they do let you keep things. So I have my costume from Demigod. I have like I have the full cape and the dress and my little like belt thing. So yeah, I could wear that for Halloween.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Is Demigod released? Is it just going to be on demand, or will it also be in select theaters?
It is in select theaters in about 7 or 8 major cities, depending on the state. And then it is also, it's on demand.
On demand.
It's on the like cable on demand, which I don't really know much about cable because I don't have that.
Yeah.
But it's also like on iTunes and Amazon Prime and Google Play and all those sites
when I was checking, it's out on most of them.
Yeah.
So it should.
It's not hard to find.
No, it's not hard to find. Will we get a Demigod 2?
Well, that is an interesting question because I would like to see that happen.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on how the first one does, but yeah, I mean, you know, if even while we were shooting, it kind of came up like, oh, well, if we did a sequel, you know, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could do a sequel, I think, pretty easy.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
So is there a genre that you haven't got to do that you would really like to do?
Romantic comedy.
Yeah.
And part of that is also so my mother who I love very much, doesn't like horror movies and doesn't like action movies.
Yeah, well, I get that. She probably doesn't want to see her daughter, hurt or beat up or anything.
Right. And it's like I either die or I do the killing.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to do just like a sweet romantic comedy that she would also enjoy watching. But
yeah, we need that's what we need. That's what we need. I guess we can put off the Gymnast for a little while.
I mean, we can work on both.
Maybe we could make it into a romantic comedy.
There you go.
We'll workshop that. We'll get that figured out. So going forward, are you concentrating more on the acting side, or are you still doing the stunts?
I'm definitely focusing more on the acting side now. I mean, I've probably been doing that for the last, I want to say 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
It's also just, that's why, like, for example, I don't really do any stunt doubling anymore, because if you're doubling an actor on a movie, that could be a 2 or 3 month long job. And that's right. 2 or 3 months then that you're not auditioning, that your agent isn't sending you on auditions, that you can't book anything because you're already booked on something else. So I made that decision a couple of years ago that I wouldn't take jobs like that anymore, because I did feel like I had to make a choice.
Yeah.
But I will always do zero gravity work because I just love that so much. And then, especially as far as acting is concerned, I've actually kind of, like Demigod, done more indies recently.
Right.
And in those, they're really happy when they have an actor who can do their own stunts.
Well, yeah, of course. That's a cost saver.
Right. It saves the money. And also you can just get better shots, because if you're not using a stunt double, you don't have to hide the person's face. You can just shoot the actor doing the stunt if it's something they can do. So, recently in the last few years, I've booked a lot of stunt acting roles, and that's great. Like the best of both worlds for me, because I get to do both and I love putting them both together.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So you mentioned you doubled Emily Blunt. I know you've done Mandy Moore. If you had the choice for an actress to be your double, who would it be?
Oh, an actress to be my double?
Yeah, it has to be like an actress to be your double. Only fair.
I mean, it's a lot of people have told me recently that I look like the girl from Queen's Gambit.
Oh my, yeah.
Yes. Anna Taylor-Joy, is that it?
Anna Taylor-Joy. That's exactly right.
So that's one I've gotten recently. I haven't seen it that much. Like I mean, maybe, I don't know.
No, I can see it. Have you seen the Queen's Gambit?
No, so that's the other problem. I should probably watch.
Well, you should probably watch it. Yes. All right, there we go.
Or, I mean, the irony would be like, what if I get one of the actresses who I have doubled to double me?
Well, yeah, that was kind of my thing.
Oh, okay.
We could have Emily or Mandy. It's only fair.
I also did Kate Beckinsale.
Oh, what was the role that you were doubling for her?
That was on a movie she did called Contraband with Mark Wahlberg.
I've seen that.
That was actually, I think that was my second movie. That was very, very early on.
Yeah, that's pretty great. All right, you make the choice, and I'll call them up. I'll be like,
all right.
We need 2 months.
I think I need to hire you like as my, additional agent here, because we got a lot of things. We got to work on.
We got a lot of stuff we're gonna work on. I work cheap, so I'm gonna call one of these wonderful actresses, and I'm gonna say we've got a role for you in our Gymnast film, but you're doubling. I can sell it. I can sell it. Just leave that to me.
It probably depends on how much money we have in the budget.
Yeah, well, that's right. That's right. You know, we're not going to operate on a shoestring. So,
Good.
So I'm going to have to start, you know, beating the pavement, bringing in the investors. Give me a
Sounds
week.
like a plan.
Well, Elena, thank you so much for putting up with my nonsense and coming on and talking to us. I think it's so fascinating to talk to someone that's coming into acting from a little bit different angle. You know, where you've done stunts and you're moving that into an acting career. I think that's really fascinating. And everything I've seen you in, absolutely loved you. So I have no doubt we're going to see just big things from you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This was so fun.
Yeah, you have to come back.
I will.
Well, we'll be working close together. So
I mean, exactly. So, you know, talk to you tomorrow.
So before I let you go, you know, we touched on a lot of it, but is there anything else that you're working on that we can kind of keep an eye out for you on?
So I've done I did a big movie this summer, which I can't talk about yet, you know.
What's the genre?
It's another superhero movie.
Oh, okay. I can probably figure it out, but I won't ask any questions.
We'll keep it at that. I'll put it on my social media once I'm allowed to.
Yeah, those would be tough to turn down. Whatever the ones you do, those would be tough to turn down.
Right. You know, it's like you always, when you get that phone call, you know it's going to be amazing no matter what.
Yeah, the experience would be terrific.
Yeah.
All right, and then you have to come back and talk about that one for sure.
Okay, I will.
Okay. All right, what else?
And so then I'm working on producing. I'm getting more into producing so I can also produce, you know, this will come in handy for our future projects together too. So I can produce projects that I can also be in. So I'm learning more about that whole behind the scenes aspect of things.
Yeah, I should have asked that. Do you write? Do you have a ambition to direct, anything like that?
So unfortunately, I don't write. I mean, I'm good at proofreading and grammar, but the creative side of writing is something I'm not that great at. So what I do is I try to find people who can write and collaborate in that way. And I mean, as far as directing, you know, I haven't really considered directing, but the producing thing I like because I mean, I am good at, I'm German, so, you know, we're very we're very organized, we're very on time, we're very follow the rules, by the book, and that's all stuff that kind of comes in handy on the producing side of things.
Yeah, for sure.
And the producing is also cool because you do see and learn from every department and every perspective, and you're talking to every department. You know, you're working with the director and the DP and the locations, and you're kind of responsible for all of that coming together and putting it together to create something.
Yeah, for sure. And that has to help on the kind of the networking side of it too, because you're making all those connections that you may be able to use later. That's good. That's really good. Well, this has been terrific. Last thing before you go, where can we find you on social media?
So I'm on everything. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Clubhouse, and everywhere it's the Elena Sanchez. So just THE and then my name. Yeah,
it pops right up. I found you on there. I was very impressed that you put the "the" in front of it. I never thought of that. I was like, oh, I should have been.
Well, I have to somehow differentiate myself from all the other 500 Elena Sanchez's.
There was a surprising number on there.
Right? I mean, it is a very popular name in the Spanish-speaking part of the world, so.
Yeah. Do you TikTok?
You know, I have, and I do have a TikTok, but it's kind of in hibernation right now. I don't think I've put anything on there for a while, and I should.
Yeah, because you've got all these skills that I think would lend themselves to TikTok, where I have nothing. I'm on there just so I can watch the kids, but I do nothing.
Maybe you can also help me manage my TikTok. How about that?
I could do that. I can do that. I'll come. I can help you come up with ideas to put on there.
All right.
I'll be useless with helping putting them. I can be your idea man.
All right.
I'm sure that's a title.
We'll make it a title.
I lied. I do have one more. Do you regret not going into hotel management?
No.
Yeah.
I'm sure my parents are a little disappointed because so my sister is a pilot.
Oh wow.
So, my mom loves traveling. So I have the feeling that my mom is a little bitter that she didn't get the free plane tickets and the free hotel stays.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what she was setting us up to do,
Yeah. Yeah, she had a plan. You messed it up.
She had a plan and we messed it up. And she's like, what did I do that, neither of my daughters have a regular 9-to-5 job, but like, I mean, the pilot thing is definitely to her benefit, but yeah, I guess she doesn't really get that much out of what I do now. So, I mean,
wait till the romantic comedy comes out.
Exactly. Well, we'll do that, and then she'll be like, okay, it's all okay now. I just talked to her before, and she said she watched Pretty Woman, and that it was like such a sweet movie. I think maybe that was a dig. Like, Elena, what are you going to do like that?
That was definitely a dig. He was hinting.
It'll happen.
It'll happen. We're putting it out there. It's going to happen.
Yes.
Well, Elena, thank you so much for doing this. And definitely, you have to come back.
I will. Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of
absolutely.
fun.
Yeah, it definitely was. Okay, hold on one second.
Recording in progress.
So that was the talented Elena Sanchez. So happy that I got a chance to speak with her. I love her background. I mean, she speaks 3 or 4 languages. She's a gymnast. She's a stunt performer. She's a terrific actress, and she also produces. I mean, that's pretty awesome. Pretty busy. A lot of fun to talk to. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Definitely do yourselves a favor. Check out Demigod. I know we're going to this weekend at the studio, so we're looking forward to that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again this week. Don't take that for granted. Really appreciate that you keep coming back to us. If you haven't done so yet, we could really use the help on our YouTube channel, MeisterCon Pod. If you could go there and subscribe, really help us out. You can also find all 300 episodes, audio and video, on our website, meistercon.com. A lot of fun stuff on there. There's a great blog from Brett. He's such a good writer. You can also find out, what we're up to, if we're doing things live at the studio, if we're going to conventions, it'll all be on there. So please check that out, meistercon.com. Thank you guys so much. Until next time, bye everybody.